All right, I'm doing this video for a former client of mine who wanted me to post if I have any issues with anything in the fitness industry. Um, I thought about this, and I would say, the fact that people online. First of all, who cares what I think? But I have a problem with. But if someone did ask my opinion, so I'll give my opinion. There's a lot of people that are gimmicky and they lie about what it takes to get certain results, and they do extremes and then sell it as they got the results from what they're promoting. People get liposuction or surgeries or do drugs. When I say drugs, I mean PEDs or drugs, to get certain results, or they get results from doing certain things, and then they lie and they sell a product or a service saying that that's how they got their results. And just people demoing things that are wrong, that can hurt people. People lying about this and lying about that, and it's like, it's a reason why I speak to certain things to help build your body, because I've been around for 30 years. I've been doing this. You think I didn't see this influx of classes back in the 2000s? Yeah, I saw it. And it had its boom, it had its spark, and then it fizzled out because people realized you needed more than that. Go back to the 80s, and I don't know if you can find it, but there were people who were the pioneers of like the TV fitness. You had Jane Fonda, you had Richard Simmons, you had Denise Austin, you had those little early morning shows with the the fit guys in the leotards coming on, dancing and weights and stuff like that. You got you push up to the 90s, you had Billy Blanks. Then you push up a little further, you had Sean T, you had Tony Horton, and you had other people making little programs here and there, because it was an era, a time of, I can sell these tapes, I can sell these DVDs. John Bastow, shout out to John Bastow for making the home workouts. But I can make these DVDs real quick, and this is what's popping, this is what's hitting, these VHSs and these DVDs and this and this and this and this and this, and then you look around and you'll be like, damn, where did all them people go? They made their money and they got out the business, or they still trying to stay fit. Now, it's certain programs that I will speak and attest to that I would approve for people. Insanity was exactly what the name is, some wild shit, but it was effective for people who were at that caliber and quality to do it. People today, it would take a lot of the way society has changed today when it comes to like weight, being overweight. Insanity would be a lot difficult, and would probably cause a lot of injury. When CrossFit exploded, it caused a lot of injury, because you got to realize that in the industry, it's about numbers. So if you're running a business or selling DVDs, you got to get those numbers, you got to get those heads in to make the money. Not everybody operates that way, but those type of lanes when it came to the industry is how people operated. And I recall seeing Richard Simmons in an interview, and if you go back and you look at some of Richard Simmons' videos, was Richard Simmons in really good tone shape, or was he just a guy who was big and lost a lot of weight? But he said once in an interview that, realistically, he knows that it takes more than dancing to have a fit body. But he said, I just love what I do, and I want to make people feel good. So what does that tell you? That's from the 80s. And now life has cycled back around to the point where strength training is pushed so hard for women, because we have more knowledge of the fact of why the prior generations may have had bad hips And if they fail, they had broken hips and bad knees and bad shoulders because they needed muscle around the joint. Now, this knowledge has been around since the 60s, the 50s, 60s, 70s, and still to this day, a lot more dance classes or so, and a lot more, and don't get me wrong, those classes benefit if you're overweight, and it's good for anaerobic, your cardio. It's good for that. But strength training is not gonna help you get stronger, and that's just a fact. And you'll find that a lot of times, once people lose weight, the weight they want to, and they get to that goal weight that they want to, now they got to circle back around to strength training, and then they do that cardio later. And I'm not saying do away with those, because like I said, we all need good heart rates and everything like that, and you all need to be active in general. But if you think that that's all you need to do as you're aging, male or female, you're gonna find out later you need to do more strength training. And what we're finding today, because I do a lot of research and investigation when it comes to my industry. I sit back and observe humanity. I've watched humanity change from being this size of people needing to lose this amount of weight to being. I've literally watched in this industry people go from being just needing to lose 20 and 10 and 15, 20, 25 to needing to lose hundreds, and it was like 5 years it was this way, the next 5 years it was this way, the next 5 years it was this way, and you look up and 20 years later, it's like, whoa, everybody needs to lose over 100 pounds. And the reason we get stuck with all this extra skin now is because your body wasn't never meant to be that big in the first place. And we've gotten lost with the fact that you're able to cover things up, and this society of, term of making people feel bad. It's like no one's trying to make anyone feel bad. It's like we're not meant to be this big. We're not meant to be this overweight. And if you look back in history, I know people don't like looking back in history, and people don't like reading, and people don't like learning things from before, and it's like, but if you look back, it was only maybe one other time where people were overweight, and even then, if you took them people from that era of time and brought them here, they still wouldn't look comparatively and be comparatively to how the people are today, because they were still active and they were still moving. This is the first time in history where people just sit and eat and gain weight and eat and gain weight, less activity. And you got to look at your elders sometimes and realize that our elders cooked all the time. That's why anyone who's, I'll say 65, 70 and up, they're dealing with those health issues. They'll live to be 90 or 100 with health issues because they only went out to eat once in a while. It was a celebration when they went to a restaurant. They wasn't going out every Friday, every Saturday, every Sunday, in the middle of the week. They wasn't buying fast food. They were cooking. My 92-year-old grandmother still cooks for herself and occasionally treats herself, likes a good burger from here, or likes a good piece of chicken from here, but that's not an everyday thing. So that's the thing I dislike about the industry, is that, it sucks everybody dry, and it sucks the soul out of people. It sucks out your pockets. It sucks out your soul, and then it gives you a big lie. And then, people look up, and then they coming back around to, oh man, I should have been doing, or I needed to do, and that's the sad part about it, man. A lot of the industry isn't really about helping people live longer and grow and age. It's about getting your money. And I mean, I may be a sucker for thinking like that or speaking like that. I may be a sucker for not selling a gimmick. I may be a sucker for not writing this tell-all book and all this stuff. And, certain things, I got plans in the future to, write, book about, nutrition, fitness, and my life in the industry. But it won't be to manipulate people and dump people upside down and empty their pockets. It'll be to change their life and help them to keep fighting for their life. Peace. Fight for your life.